So what is up, Africana fam? It's your girl Young Africana back at it again with another video. If you are new, welcome to my channel. Join the fam. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Also like and comment underneath this video if you are feeling this video already. And if you are Africana OG, what is up, you guys? I'm so happy that you guys are back on my channel. And today I'm going to be doing something a little bit not different, but all right, so let me tell you why I'm here. So I was searching on these YouTube streets and I've noticed that there aren't that many beginner friendly videos of how to use makeup brushes. So I'm like, you know what, I'm like the in-depth queen. I like to go into detail when I like to do my tutorials. So I'm like, you know what, let me do a video catered to my beginner girlies, because you guys love my beginner friendly videos on how to use makeup brushes. And these brushes are very affordable. They're all underneath the price point of $20. I know $20 is still a little bit steep for some people, but also too, you also have to understand that building your makeup kit takes time and you're not going to buy everything all at once. These brushes are amazing. I've had all of them for over like 3 years. They last, they're durable, and they're worth the price. So if you are a beginner looking for a beginner's guide on how to use makeup brushes, then keep on watching. I'm going to show you guys exactly how I use these brushes, why I use them, and how to achieve a flawless face with them. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so for me personally, I like to do my eyebrows first. My eyebrows are already drawn in, and the brush I like to use to clean up my eyebrows with is my Morphe M421 brush. This is how the brush looks like. As you guys can see, it has that curvature up top, and I love brushes like this. I prefer these ones over just a regular straight one just because I feel like it kind of fits in the curves of my eyebrows. And I like to use them on the side. So I'm going to show you guys how I use this brush. So you guys, I love to use my hand as a palette, especially when it comes to my concealer. So I'm going to go ahead and take my wrist right here and take my concealer. My Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer in the color Deep Bronze. I'm just going to place a little bit of my concealer right here on my hand like this, so you guys can see. I'm going to go ahead and apply pressure on both sides. I'm going to spin it, make sure it's nice and saturated. And what this does is it helps it flatten out the brush, you guys. You want the brush to be flat as possible. And this is why I love using this brush for eyebrows. You have it nice and flat like this. So I usually like to go in at the bottom of my eyebrow first. And what I'm doing is I'm starting probably like 3/4 into my eyebrow. So I'm starting right here. And I like to go ahead and just use the side because that's how I feel like my hands best navigate. It's easy for me to move around with me going on the side of the brush. So I'm just going to go ahead and lift up my eyebrow like this. I'm going to start 3/4 of the way into my eyebrow. So not the beginning, but right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and just gently just outline where I had drew my eyebrows. And again, like I said, I'm using the side for the first half of the eyebrow. And once I get to the end, I like to just go with the tip part to curve it out, because the tip part fits the curvature of my eyebrows in this section. So just like that, and then you just drag it out. And again, everything gets better when you have a better technique. You just gotta keep on practicing it. So now that I'm done, I'm gonna go ahead and go in the front, and I'm gonna use the tip part, which is the top curvature part of the brush. And I'm just gonna go ahead and use hair-like strokes just to carve it out. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and just drag down my concealer just so it could blend out nicely, so I don't have a halo effect when it comes to my concealer, because the concealer is lighter than my actual skin color. I would definitely suggest for you guys, when you are doing your eyebrows, make sure that your eyebrows are already done, just so it's a bit easier. I know when like your eyebrows are kind of like all over the place and like sporadic, it's harder to do your eyebrows. So just, you know, rule of thumb, just get your eyebrows done so it's easier for you to do your eyebrows. Because your eyebrow shape in general is your foundation for how your eyebrows are going to come out. So now that we're going on the top, now I just like to go on the side of this. I'm going to go right on top where I outline my eyebrows, and I'm going to start in the beginning. And just use hair-like strokes This helps you prevent making mistakes versus you just dragging it out. Just like that. So I'm using the side. Boom. And now I just push up the rest of the concealer upwards so it could blend out nicely. And there you have it. You have a beautiful brow. So now to blend out the concealer even more, just to make sure that there's no, line of demarcation, I like to go in to my Morphe M173 brush. This is how it looks. This is a small round buffer brush. As you guys can see, it's a bit on the denser side, but it is still soft and flexible. And I like to use this to blend out any small areas of my face. I usually more so use this for concealer. So I'm gonna use this to blend this out. And this brush retails for $9. So I'm gonna go ahead and just use this. And I like to just use this in patting motions when I am trying to diffuse out my concealer. Just wanna pat it in. Pat, pat, pat. And this just helps blend out the concealer and blur it out. You want to make sure that you do this so you have a nice flawless finish. There's no line of demarcation between your concealer and your skin. And that is how you do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other eyebrow off camera, and I'm going to come back to you guys with complexion. Alright you guys, so now I just went ahead and just prepped and primed my face off camera. I already did my other eyebrow and we were looking good to go. So now on to complexion, and please make sure you prime your face with primers. I am going to be doing a video for makeup for beginners, affordable wise, also too, so stay tuned for that as well. But I already went ahead and prepped and primed my face. So now I'm going to go in with my foundation, and the brushes I like to use for foundation, right? So I got two, right? But there's one that goes over the other, and I'm gonna explain why. So the first brush we have is my Real Techniques brush. This is how the brush looks. As you guys can see, it has that little dent where the brush kind of goes up in a diagonal. So this is my Real Techniques Instapop brush. You could get this from Ulta, and the retail price for this is $10.99. The second brush that I have is my Morphe M173 brush. You can get this from Morphe or Ulta, and this retails for $17. And as you guys can see, it's almost like a kabuki brush, minus it being flat. It does have a bit of a round curvature up top, but it's not that much. It's pretty dense, but still soft. You always just want to make sure that when you are getting makeup brush, especially for complexion, that the brush is dense enough, but also soft enough. And you can tell. I actually have a brush that's really hard that I don't like using. And I'm going to show you right now. So this is a foundation brush. This is a regular kabuki brush. This is from Japanesque. And as you guys can see, this brush is tough. You can hear it actually. And the reason why I don't like using this brush is because I feel like it's a little bit too hard for me, where it's kind of hard to move around foundation without it being blotchy. You always just want to make sure that your foundation brushes are dense, where it has some volume in it, but can still move around, like how this brush can and how this brush can. As you guys can see, it's easy for it to move. It's soft to the touch when you're touching it. So that's how you know it could blend. The softer, the more it could blend, but you don't want it too soft where pretty much when you put foundation on it, it gets oversaturated and now it becomes streaky on your face. So no, you almost want a brush that has the effect of a beauty blender. There we go. You want to make sure that it's soft enough for it to blend out, but not too hard, but it will make it blotchy. That's my perfect analogy. Boom. So these two brushes are my holy grails, right? I love using these brushes. I interchange when I feel like it, but I more so use this brush than I do this brush. And I'm going to tell you why. So with this brush, right, when I'm patting it in, because I pat my foundation in, I'm going to show you guys how to pat in your foundation so it looks nice and airbrushed. When I'm patting it in, as you guys can see, it just literally fits in the curvatures of my face, because my face is not flat. nobody's face is flat, okay? When you're pouncing it on your skin, you can just see that it just fits the curvatures of my face, even in the creases and crevices of my face. This brush, on the other hand, you can do that, but it's not as flexible as this one. And the reason why is that's because of how it is made. This one, it's more on the slant, so it fits in those creases and crevices of your face versus this one. They're both equally good, and I'm going to show you guys half and half of how one brush looks like on the other. But I just like this one because I feel like this one is a bit more beginner friendly. And if you're not used to patting in your face, this brush literally helps you kind of pat in your face versus this one. So that's just my knowledge on it. I think this one is more beginner friendly, but they're both great. And this one is also cheaper as well too. So pick your poison. I know everybody has their favorites, so that's why I want to introduce more than one option to you guys, just in case. But yeah, these are like my two faves, y'all. These are my two faves. I'm going to show you half and half of how I do my face. On this side, I'm going to show you guys how I use the Real Techniques brush on my face. So, I mean, rule of thumb, I just like to go ahead, just think about your brush as a beauty blender. And usually to blend out your foundation, you just got to keep on patting it in. So we're just going to pat in our foundation and not swipe. Because when you swipe, that's how you cause streaks. So I'm going to go in right here. Literally just pat it in. I just love how big this brush is because you don't have to do too much in regards of blending out your foundation. And it doesn't take long for it to blend out either. So then, like I said, I'm just blending out and patting it in with patting motions on my face. As you guys can see, it literally melted into my skin. You just want to make sure you get underneath your chin a little bit too. Boom. Simple as pie. Literally just keep on pressing it in until you see that it is blended out. Also too, just make sure you're in a well-lit area. Make sure that the lights are not yellow, but more of a daylight tone, so just white light. Want to make sure you're doing your makeup in white light so you're flash approved at the end of it, okay? So if you need to invest in a ring light, or even to what I do sometimes if I'm traveling, I like to use my flashlight on my phone. So literally turn on my flashlight like this, put it on the highest setting, and then just face it to my face like this while I'm doing my makeup. And this helps me make sure that I'm flash approved. And that's a little trick. You don't even have to use a ring light. Whenever I'm traveling and I don't have a light with me, that's exactly what I do. Now, usually for my forehead, right? Because I usually don't use this brush for my forehead. And this is optional, okay? This is very optional, but I like to use different brushes. So for my forehead, because it's a smaller space, and I just don't want to accidentally get onto my eyebrow. I don't want to be the typical YouTuber that uses their hand, but that was the only way that it was going to focus. I like to use this brush. This is the Morphe E8 brush. And this is a small buffer brush. You could use the concealer one, but since I already used my concealer on that brush, I'd rather not, just because I don't want to make my foundation lighter. So I go on with a separate clean brush. This is my Morphe E8 brush, and it retails for $10. So I like to go in, and I like to use this brush just to buff out my foundation. And again, this is just for smaller areas of your face. But I like to get into the places that my foundation brush couldn't because it was too big to get there. And again, the same way how I use patting motions with my foundation brush, I like to do the same too. And I'm just literally patting it in. And boom. That is how I do that. Okay, now onto the other side. I know right now my skin is doing so horrible. You guys, I've been breaking out of nowhere. I think probably because it's almost that time of the month, but I usually don't break out, but you know, I'm getting older, so things change. So just excuse the little blemishes on my face, if you can even see them. Yeah. So now on this side of the face, I'm gonna go in with my Morphe M439 brush. And again, like I said, you wanna make sure you just use patting motions. Literally pat in your foundation into your skin. One thing I would say about this brush in comparison to the Real Techniques brush is I feel like this one steals a bit more product because it's softer, so it's easier for it to absorb into the brushes versus the Real Techniques one, which is a bit more denser. But nevertheless, it gets the job done. And there we have it, you all. So you guys can see, I don't know if you guys can tell a difference, if there's even a difference, but these are my two favorite for foundation. So now on to the highlighting part, which is the fun part. All right, y'all, so I went in and I had highlighted my face. What I like to do is once I highlighted my face, I like to go back into my foundation brush. And the reason why I like to do this is because I like to marry the foundation and the concealer in. And because we still have a little bit of foundation residue, it helps me blend it out. And I'm going to just literally just blend out only the edges of the concealer. And this was such a game changer for me when I learned how to do this. I'm going to demonstrate with the M439 brush just so you guys can see both brushes. Just like that. This was honestly a game changer for me once I started doing this because my makeup will literally look flawless underneath any light because of this. As for this part, I like to go in with the E8 because it's smaller. And just go around and just blend out those edges. And this just makes our blending job a lot more easier. It already looks as if like I already blended it out, but I didn't. So that's just my little trick. Go into your foundation brush. The smaller the area it is, the smaller the brush you use. The bigger the area it is, the bigger the brush you use. So it's between these three that I use. Now on to blending out the concealer. Me personally, I like to use brushes more than I like to use sponges. It really just depends on what type of look you're going for. If you're trying to go for that airbrush, softer type look, go in with the sponge. But with me personally, I like to go in with a brush, you guys. And the brush, I just also feel like it's more sanitary to use a brush than a sponge at times when it comes to blending out concealer, because it's easier to wash out a brush than it is a sponge. But to each his own, you know. I sometimes use a sponge to blend it out. I like to go into my Ulta Beauty Precision Foundation brush. This is it, you guys. It's a smaller foundation brush, but I use this for my concealer because it's that small. So this is the brush that I use. And this brush retails for $16. So it's a bit more on the heftier side considering the size of it. But it's worth it, you guys. It is worth it. I had this brush for 3 years and it still looks brand new. So I'm gonna go in, and again, the same thing. When it comes to complexion, all you're doing is patting it in. Gonna pat it in. You wanna stay in that range of motion of where you put it at. You don't wanna go out or in. Wherever you highlighted at is where you keep the blend at, okay? I'm literally just patting it in. I just love this brush because it reminds me of the Real Techniques brush. And I'm just gonna go in and blend it out. I'm gonna make sure you use patting motions again. And this literally looks seamless. I usually like to save my under eyes for last, of course. just so that that area can be more opaque and we can cover up them Chanel bags. So up top here, I'm going to go ahead and blend it out. And again, like there's different ways of using it. As you guys can see, I'm kind of like going in and out like this because I notice that the areas that I can't see where I'm patting at, I don't want to accidentally get like concealer onto my eyebrows. So what I do is I kind of just turn it over a little bit so I can still blend it out but still see, and I'm not messing anything up on my face or like my eyebrows. And then I just go back into my foundation brush just to make sure that it's blended out like that. Boom. You guys already see, like, it's just, the skin is skinning, okay? It's skinning. All right. Now, when it comes to the nose area, again, use brushes that are relative to the size of your face or the areas of your face. So if you are working on your nose, which is your nose is probably the smallest part of your face, I go back in with my concealer brush from Morphe, and I'm just going to pat it in, and again, stay in the range of motion of where you applied your concealer at. Don't go any bigger or any wider of where the concealer is placed, okay? And again, just patting motions. Make sure it's nice and blended out. Make sure you go on the edges a little bit just to make sure it's nice and blended out. And boom, there you have it. It's that simple. Again, underneath your eyes, I just love how it fits underneath like those small creases and crevices. On the nose area, since I want to pinch in my nose, I like to go in like this, especially where the flat part is at right here, just to help blend out that concealer but also pinch in my nose when I highlight. Boom, you see that? Same thing here. I go in, turn it around to pinch in the nose and blend out the concealer at the same time. And I just literally just pat it in until it gets nice and blended. Boom, just like that, y'all. And for the eye area, after I'm done with that, just go back in with my foundation brush. Listen, it doesn't hurt to double check your work to make sure everything is nice and blended. Okay, blend, blend, blend till you can't blend no more. There's no such thing as too much blending now. I like to just make sure that that concealer and the foundation are pretty much mirroring each other. There's no line of demarcation. Look, y'all, the face is looking flawless. And again, I just love this brush because of how flexible it is, because of that angled effect to the brush. All right, so now that that's done, now we're gonna go ahead and powder our face or set our face just so that our concealer or the liquid on our face does not move throughout the day. And my favorite thing to use when I'm setting my face is a beauty blender. So I got this. This is the value pack, you guys. This is the Real Techniques value pack. It comes with how many? 6 different sponges of different shapes. And this retails for $20 in Ulta. This is a steal, you guys. Just for one beauty blender alone, the original beauty blender is $20, but you get 6 brushes, or you get 6 beauty blenders for the price of one. And these beauty blenders are thebomb.com. I used to use these years ago. I do use the original beauty blender, but I've used these for so long and they're literally the same. 1 or 2 of just these in the pack retails for about $10. And then one just retails for about $6 or $5. So it's super cheap but affordable. And for the sake of the video, I'm going to be using 2 of these sponges for highlighting. I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to go ahead and dampen them. You do want to make sure you dampen these beauty blenders so that they're nice and soft and they're able to just, you know, blend out on your face. So I'm going to go ahead and dampen them. Squeeze and wring out the water just so it's nice and damp but not saturated with water inside. So BRB. Alright y'all, so I went ahead and dampened them, and as you guys can see, it pretty much just doubled in size. And they're way more softer. You just want to make sure that they're nice and soft, okay, when it comes to putting on your powder or using it to blend out your concealer, okay? What I like to do is I like to just kind of rejudge my face, you know, because I feel like sometimes over time, like, your face just get really dry. And I want to make sure that the powder really sets into my skin. So I'm going to go in with my Morphe setting spray. I'm just going to spray my face. It just kind of rejudges my face and make sure that the powder doesn't sit on my face, but it sets on my face. It's called setting powder, not sitting powder. You don't want your powder to sit on your face because that's how your skin cracks. All right, y'all. So now I'm going to go into my setting powder. I'm using my Laura Mercier setting powder in the color medium deep. This is the translucent one. I'm going to go ahead and just press into my powder. Probably just like 1 to 3 dabs, right? And now I'm going to just, I like to just go like that so I can stretch on my face to make sure that like my concealer is not creasing. So a little like this, a little bit. And I'm going to start setting the places where I put my concealer at. And again, I'm just going to use patting motions and just really have the powder just set into your skin. And again, the same way I do my foundation brushes, you just want to pat it in until like it pretty much just disappears. Okay, I know a lot of people like to bake and, you know, have like just a whole ton of just powder on your face, but it's not really effective if it's just sitting on your face and you didn't actually set. Now if you want to bake after you set, by all means go ahead and do so. But as you guys can see, like, there's not much wiping I need to do because I'm literally just keep on pressing it in until it melts into my skin. Like, you really just want the powder to marry into your face. You want to make sure you get deep into those little creases and crevices into your face. Then when it comes to the nose area, I just kind of like press it in like this, just so that I could kind of create that natural contour a little bit. Now when it comes to the nose area, what I will use, there's like this little dent right here. I'm going to show you guys. Look. You see that little dent? So it dents like this, right? It dents like this, right? But then there's a little itty bitty dent right here, right? This sponge is perfect for that nose highlight, okay? So I'm gonna use that little itty bitty dent right here. I'm gonna dab it into my powder. Boom. Just like that, okay? And then I'm just going to just outline where my nose contour is at. My nose highlight is at. And like, this is just so foolproof. You don't have to worry about powder getting all over your nose or like where you highlight it at on your nose. Boom. It's just that simple. And now I'm just going to use the rest of the sponge just to pat in that concealer. And even when it comes down to your eyebrows, like the eyebrow area, you could use that same area where you used for your nose, just so you can get all the concealer so everything's nice and blended in. All right, you guys, so now on to contour. Me personally, I do not like to liquid contour. I just like to go in with powder because it gives me a softer look, and I just feel like liquid contour is kind of unnecessary, but to each his own. But me personally, I'm not looking for an extreme contour type of look, so I don't mind it being softer. So the brush I'm going to be going into, my Real Techniques Instapop cheek brush. This is pretty much the same thing as the regular Instapop brush, but it's just smaller. And this also works well as a concealer brush as well too. This is actually very multifunctional. You can use it for both powder and liquid. So if you don't want to spend $16 on the Ulta brush, you could definitely use this one. I just like the Ulta brush because it's a bit more flexible than this one, and it gets in really into the creases and crevices of your face. So yeah, as you guys can see, this is how it looks. It has a nice slant that we like. We love a slant, okay? So like I said, I only do powder. I don't use liquid. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just kind of pat in to like my powder. And this is my Juvia's Place bronzer palette in the color Deep Dark. And I'm using the darkest one for contour. You just want to make sure that your contour is about like 2 shades darker than you. Nothing too dark, nothing too light either. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just going to go ahead and just pat around. That's literally it. This actually works well as a blush brush as well too. Like I said, this brush is very multifunctional. So you can use this for multiple things. Me personally, I have 3 of these brushes, and I also have 3 of the other Instapop brushes. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just contour around my face, just around the hollows of my cheeks. And again, just pat it in. You don't want to swipe it in. Just pat that bad boy in, because this also makes it more opaque than you swiping it. And if you don't know what opaque means, opaque just means like it's just more saturated in color. So boom, just like that. Pat that bad boy in. Again, you want your contour and your highlight, especially when your cheeks kind of marry each other. So I put the contour right underneath where my highlight kind of stops at. So now the last thing I'm going to contour is my nose, of course, because like that's like the best part. So what I like to use for my nose is my Morphe E62 brush, and this is a slanted, like again, we love our slants, a slanted angled shadow brush. As you guys can see, it's pretty small in shape, has a nice slant to it. It's not too dense but not too soft either, and I like to use this for my nose contour, and this retails for $10. So I'm gonna go back into that same shade. I'm gonna pat it in, dust it off a little bit, and again, just patting motions. I like to go into my eyebrows just so that everything, again, you don't want no gaps in between your contour and your highlight, like no gaps. Everything has to be married. So just think about it like this. Everything's kind of like a melting pot. You want everything to just melt in with each other. You don't want nothing where there's a gap in between. Your contour should always be marrying your highlight and vice versa. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just gonna go ahead and just drag it down. I don't really tap per se. And then what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of just lightly just patting it in, just so that it can kind of marry this nose highlight right here. So I like to do that. Also to get underneath my nose too, because we did do like that little circle right here, so you want to highlight or marry the circle part of the highlight with the contour. So that means getting underneath your nose, getting around that. And then just kind of like, this almost creates like a button nose, just going across the top of the tip of your nose, like that. I don't know if you guys can see a difference with this side and this side. But just look, guys. There's this side, and then there's this side. There's this side, and then there's this side. So it's subtle, but it makes a difference though. I'm just going to do the other side. Drag it down. I kind of pat in up here, following the curve of my nose and kind of bringing it up to my eyebrows. And then I just kind of drag it when I'm coming down, like that. Then, boom. Again, just following the curvature of your nose. You want to kind of outline the highlight. That's pretty much what you're doing, is outlining the highlight in a sense. Ooh. And then you have a cute little button nose and a cute nose contour. Alright guys, so I'm done with my eyes. So now I'm going to show you guys how I tie everything together. And literally it's just one brush, right? We're going to use this bad boy right here, your foundation brush, okay? What you're literally going to do is just pat in / swipe off. Again, using patting motions. Going to just pat in / swipe off any of the excess powder on your face, just like so. And as for this one, you could pat and swipe, doesn't really matter. I'm more pat swiping more than I am just patting. Oh. I want you to get really in there. Now the last brush I'll be introducing is this bad boy, y'all. And this is the Real Techniques setting brush. And this retails for $7.99. So now I'm going to go back into this palette. I'm going to use the top one for my blush. Just going to go ahead and pat that in. And what I do is I just smile to kind of help me know where the apples of my cheeks are. Apples of your cheeks, pretty much just the round part of your cheek. So I just do that, tap it in, tap off for the excess powder, and boom. And I'm really just patting it in. I know my smile looks so fake right now. But listen, if you are a black girly, if you're a melanin mommy watching this, blush is your best friend. It's just about the color blush you get. And I just prefer anything that's on the smoky brown / peach color or orange color. That is a staple. And I feel like blush definitely just brings life to your skin. It just makes your skin look a lot more rosy. Like I said, I'm just literally just patting it in like this. The brush is just naturally just circular, so it's easy for you to pat it in. And smiling just makes it even better. Let's apply a little bit on my nose, a little bit. Just a wee bit, babes. Just a wee bit. Sorry. I thought I was gonna be able to do a whole video without me doing a British accent, but I can't. I just cannot. I think in my past life I was a UK babe, but we move. So I'm going to finish off everything. I'm going to show you guys the final look. And this is how we are looking. I hope you guys enjoyed this in-depth tutorial how to use your brushes for a flawless beat. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel if you have not. Click that bell and I'll see you guys in the next one.